Why does Capricorn build wealth quietly? You have noticed this, even if you have never put it into a single sentence. Look around your own life and run the inventory. The people in your circles who turned out eventually to have far more than anyone suspected. The relatives who lived modestly for 40 years and then surprised the family with what they actually had. The friends from school who never seemed to care about money and then somehow ended up owning a building. The colleagues who dressed plainly and drove old cars and at retirement were quietly worth more than the visibly successful people in the same room. A disproportionate number of them were Capricorns. You may even be one of them. And the question that has lived under the surface of your observation is, why is this pattern so consistent? And what is the Capricorn actually doing that the visibly ambitious people are not? Tonight I'm going to give you the architecture of the answer. Through a planetary law that Johannes Kepler proved 400 years ago and that, properly understood, is the secret diagram of Capricorn money. The popular explanations of Capricorn wealth are not exactly wrong, but they are dramatically incomplete. The popular reading says Capricorns are frugal. They do not spend on appearance. They save more than they earn. They are disciplined. All of this is true at the surface, and yet it does not answer the question, because frugality on its own does not produce wealth. It merely prevents the loss of small amounts. Millions of people are frugal and never accumulate. Something else is operating in the Capricorn pattern, something the frugality explanation cannot reach. The next set of explanations says Capricorns are strategic. They think long-term. They plan for retirement early. They invest carefully. Closer, but still incomplete. Long-term thinking does not by itself produce wealth either. The world is full of long-term planners who never see results because the underlying timing of their effort is wrong. Strategy without the right relationship to time is just frustration extended across decades. Something more specific is happening when a Capricorn builds wealth quietly. And the something is not strategy as taught in business schools. The something is a particular relationship to time itself that the Saturn-ruled body operates by default, and that almost no one else operates without conscious training. To see what that relationship actually is, we have to go to the work of Johannes Kepler, who lived 400 years ago and who was both an astronomer and an astrologer at a time when those two practices had not yet been forcibly separated. Kepler spent 2 decades trying to discover the mathematical law that governs the way the planets move around the sun. The first 2 laws he discovered are now familiar to anyone who has studied astronomy. The third law, which he found in 1619, is the one that matters for our purposes tonight. Kepler's third law states that the square of a planet's orbital period is proportional to the cube of its average distance from the sun. In plain language, the further a planet is from the sun, the longer it takes to complete its orbit. And the relationship between distance and time is not linear, it is exponential. A planet twice as far from the sun does not take twice as long to orbit. It takes about 2.8 times as long. A planet 4 times as far does not take 4 times as long. It takes about 8 times as long. The further out you go, the more disproportionately slow the orbital motion becomes. And the law is exact, mathematical, woven into the structure of the cosmos at a level Kepler regarded as evidence of the music underlying creation. He called it the Harmonicae Mundi, the harmony of the world. Saturn is the slowest of the planets visible to the unaided eye. Saturn's orbital period is about 29.5 Earth years, and a Saturn return is the moment when Saturn, having moved through the entire wheel of your chart at its slow planetary pace, returns to the exact position it occupied at your birth. To be ruled by Saturn is to be calibrated in your basic nervous system and behavioral patterns to the slowest harmonic that the solar system makes audible. You are not slow. Saturn is slow. You operate in time the way Saturn operates in space, at a pace whose results compound across decades the way the inner planets cannot compound, because the inner planets have to keep rushing around the sun and never get to accumulate position the way Saturn does in its long, slow arc. This is the architecture of quiet wealth. The Capricorn does not build wealth by acquiring it faster than other people. The Capricorn builds wealth by operating in time at a slower harmonic, and the slower harmonic, by Keplerian mathematics, compounds disproportionately across long arcs. A small, steady accumulation, continued patiently for decades, produces results that fast accumulation cannot match, because the fast accumulator has to keep working at high intensity to maintain the pace, while the slow accumulator simply has to remain at their station and let the orbital arithmetic do its work. This is not a metaphor. This is the actual law that Kepler discovered, applied to the wealth-building behavior of a sign whose ruler is the slowest visible planet. What I am giving you here is the architecture of the slow wealth pattern, the Keplerian-harmonic mechanics by which a Saturn-ruled body accumulates by patient rate-keeping across decades, rather than by intensity across years. Knowing the pattern is awareness. Knowing the timing of when in your specific decade the accumulation is accelerating, when it is consolidating, and when it is being asked to slow down to absorb what has already been built is power, because the pattern is constant, but the timing of its phases is what allows you to enter the right relationship with the work at the right time. That timing is what I track on the Patreon. The foundation tier maps the weekly mechanics of slow accumulation in a Capricorn body. The inner circle tier breaks the activation down by your decade, because the wealth-building rhythm presents at different harmonic phases in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s. Now that you have the Keplerian frame, you will see this same slow accumulation pattern operating in places that have nothing visibly to do with money. You will see it in the way you build skill. While faster signs are working in bursts and looking for shortcuts, you are doing the daily 30 minutes of practice that across 15 years produces the competence that nobody else in your field has matched. The practice does not look like anything from the outside. It looks like a person doing an unremarkable amount of work each day. But the daily continuance, multiplied by the slow harmonic, produces a kind of competence that the burst workers cannot reach, because the burst workers have to keep starting over after each burst. You will see it in the way you build relationships.
The alignment is perfect now.
The friendships you have are mostly long ones. The friends from 20 years ago are still your friends, because you have been keeping the small, steady contact that allows a friendship to compound across decades. You have not been performing the friendships dramatically. You have been operating the relationships at a slow, steady rate, and the rate, multiplied by time, has produced the kind of friendship, the fast friendship people do not get to have. You will see it in the way you build your reputation in any field you have worked in for long enough. You did not build the reputation by being loud about your accomplishments. You built it by doing reliable work for so long that eventually the reliability itself became the reputation. Other people performed competence. You accumulated it. The accumulation, by Keplerian mathematics, compounded. You will see it in the way you process grief and difficulty. You did not move through hard times by venting in bursts. You move through them by carrying a small portion of the difficulty each day across a long stretch of months or years. Now, the slow carrying allowed the work of digestion to actually finish, where the burst grievers had to keep restarting their grief because they tried to do the work too fast. What you have called your slowness was the basic operating speed of a Saturn-ruled body, and the slowness is not a deficit. The slowness is the harmonic at which your particular accumulation engine operates with the highest possible efficiency. To try to make yourself fast is to try to operate at the wrong harmonic and to lose the accumulation effect entirely. Capricorns who try to compete with faster signs at the faster sign's speed almost always lose, because they are using a body that was designed for a different orbital relationship to time. Place your hands together, Capricorn. Press them flat against each other in front of your chest, palms together. Feel the calluses at the base of the fingers, the slight thickness where the skin has been hardening for years from the work of your life. Feel where your hands have been doing the small daily things, tapping, writing, holding tools, counting things, signing papers, building whatever you have been building at the steady rate that almost no one notices. That steadiness is the slow harmonic registered in your tissue. Your hands have been the accumulation instruments. The medical name for the muscles is the intrinsic muscles of the hand, the small, precise movers, and that is exactly what they have been doing your whole life, making the small, precise movements day after day at the rate Saturn always sets, which is the rate of the slow harmonic that compounds across decades. This is not patience as virtue. This is endurance as design. The slow rate operation of a body built to accumulate at the Saturn harmonic across the long arc of a life. The years you spent feeling that you were doing less than the people around you were the years your hands were doing the small, daily work that, by Keplerian arithmetic, was building the position the visible workers could not build because they had to keep restarting their pace. The slowness is not the problem. The slowness is the operating speed of the accumulation engine. What your hands have been quietly building, the visible world has merely not yet finished noticing. So now you walk into your relationship with wealth and accumulation differently, knowing what the architecture is. You stop comparing your rate of acquisition to the rate of the visibly successful people in your circles. The comparison is mathematically wrong. You are operating at a different orbital harmonic, and the comparison applies the wrong arithmetic. You honor the slow, daily continuance as the actual labor of accumulation, and you stop accepting the cultural diagnosis that says faster is better. Faster is not better for a Saturn-ruled body. Faster is the harmonic of inner planet people, and you are not an inner planet person. And you begin to see the accumulation engine wherever you have been running it, in your craft, in your friendships, in your reputation, in your daily work, in the slow shape of your finances. The engine has been running for years. You did not notice because the engine does not announce itself. The engine, by Keplerian design, runs quietly so that the accumulation effect is not disturbed. Now that you have the frame, You will walk forward with the engine consciously, rather than running it without knowing it was running. The pattern is yours forever. What you carry permanently is the Saturn-harmonic itself, the slow operating speed of a body built to accumulate across decades. What changes from season to season is the timing. There are stretches of years when the accumulation accelerates, stretches when it consolidates the gains, stretches when it asks you to slow further still and let what has been built absorb itself. The pattern, you operate forever. The timing of each phase, when to push the rate, when to hold steady, when to let the compound work, is what I track on Patreon, week by week and decade by decade, so you know which kind of season your particular chart is in. You did not build wealth quietly because you were afraid of visibility. You built it quietly because the harmonic that produces accumulation in a Saturn-ruled body requires the quietness. Now, when someone faster looks at your life and wonders why you have not been more visible about your gains, you will know what to say to yourself. I am operating at the Saturn harmonic. The slow compound is the actual wealth. The visibility was never the point. The architecture knows what it is doing, and from now on, so do you. Master Alistair. Only Capricorn. Only depth.